In the banquet hall of the Emerald Bay Resort Hotel, the champagne tower shimmered with flowing light. Chief Assistant Zhou Minting walked over with a glass of red wine, smiling with poised grace. Director Shen, Mrs. Liu. Congratulations to you. Our CEO Lu's wife just gave birth to a healthy baby girl weighing 6 Jin and 9 Liang last week. Both mother and daughter are doing well. The noise of the entire banquet hall seemed to have been muted. My name is Shen Zhuan, Chief Legal Officer at Ruihang Technology. I am also the wife of my boss, Lu Chengyuan, in a marriage kept secret for 6 years. Over these 6 years, I helped him take his startup from a basement garage workshop to the eve of ringing the bell at Nasdaq. He said it wasn't the right time to go public during the company's growth phase. And I believed him. He said he would give me the most magnificent wedding once the company went public. And I believed that too. Now, his assistant Zhou Minting, in front of over 300 employees, cheerfully congratulated me, Mrs. Liu, on another woman giving birth to his daughter. Lu Chengyuan stood just 5 meters away. His face turned pale. His lips moved twice. But not a single word came out. I bent down to pick up the broken glass, and a shard pierced my palm. Blood beaded up. But strangely, I felt no pain. I straightened up and gave Zhou Minting a smile even more polished than hers. Thank you, Assistant Zhou, for the good news. The annual dinner of Emerald Bay was held in the Seaview Hall, where floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked an expanse of pitch-black ocean. Ruihang Technology was about to go public in the U.S., marking the last team-building event before the IPO. My husband, also my nominal superior, Lu Chengyuan, stood at the center of the stage giving a speech. He wore a custom navy suit, and the case of his Lang Son watch occasionally caught a glint of light. 5 meters separated us, along with subordinates moving about with drinks and a secret we had guarded for 6 years. As the company's chief legal officer, my seat was always arranged at a distance he could see at a glance without raising suspicion. Shen Zhuan's name wasn't particularly prominent in the legal circles of the tech industry, but insiders would nod in recognition when it came up. Over the past 5 years, I had deflected 3 potentially fatal intellectual property lawsuits for Ruihang Technology and led the legal frameworks for 2 M&A deals that peers used as case studies. My colleagues respected me, but also feared me a little. Behind my back, they said I was like an emotionless legal machine. Shen, what are you spacing out for? Old Fong, the VP of technology sitting next to me, nudged me with his elbow. The CEO's done with his speech. The management team should go toast. I snapped back to reality, picked up the untouched champagne glass. Bubbles rose from the bottom in strings, reaching the top before popping with a soft sound. I looked up at Lu Chengyuan. His gaze landed on me at the same second, cutting through the crowd to find me precisely. There was a fleeting softness in it, but it quickly retracted, replaced by the face of a CEO. This was the unspoken understanding we had practiced countless times. In public, just superior and subordinate, just seamless partners, nothing more. After a few rounds of raffles and games, people began to leave their seats to mingle and toast. I was about to find a corner to hide in when a woman in a Wynard strapless dress walked straight toward me with a glass in hand. Zhou Minting. She had been with Lu Chengyuan for 4 years. Beautiful, meticulous, flawless. She probably knew every tiny habit of his at work better than I did. Director Shen, I'd like to toast you, she said with a perfect smile, leaving no room for fault. I raised my glass. You're too kind, Assistant Zhou. A few department heads nearby gathered to tease. Is Assistant Zhou toasting on behalf of CEO Lu to thank our great contributor? Exactly. Shen is the company's moat. Zhou Minting didn't respond. She lowered her glass half an inch below mine, putting on a show of respect, but her eyes were fixed on me without blinking. Then she spoke. Her tone wasn't loud, even carrying a soft curve, but every word hit like a nail driven into my temple. Director Shen. A pause. Mrs. Liu. Another pause. I really must congratulate you. CEO Lu's wife gave birth to a healthy baby girl last week. 6 pounds 9 ounces. I hear both mother and daughter are doing wonderfully. Mrs. Liu. CEO Lu's wife. Last week. Baby girl. Each word landed blunt and precise. I could feel everyone within a 2 to 3 meter radius holding their breath. The colleagues who had been laughing moments ago froze mid-expression, awkward, curious, some barely hiding their schadenfreude. 6 years. 6 years of a secret marriage. No wedding. No photos. The marriage certificate was locked in the deepest drawer of his study safe. For the sake of his promise. We'll go public once the IPO happens. I had gone from a woman who wanted to walk hand in hand with her lover in the sunlight to a ghost without a name. Now, this secret was being ripped open in the most humiliating way possible. I didn't look at Lu Chengyuan's face. I didn't need to. I already knew what expression he wore. Oh, is Director Shen too happy to speak? Zhou Minting tilted her head slightly, feigning surprise. Look at me. Running my mouth. Such good news, CEO Lu would surely want to share it personally with his most trusted right hand. I'm just happy for the real Mrs. Lu. She deliberately emphasized the word real. Snapped the wineglass in her hand shattered. The cold liquid mixed with blood seeping through her fingers, dripping onto the light-colored carpet beneath her feet, forming a small patch of red and yellow. I didn't feel the pain. Or rather, this pain was nothing compared to the entire ruin collapsing inside my chest. The sound of the shattering glass silenced everyone around. Ms. Shen, your hand. Old Fong hurriedly handed over a tissue. I didn't take it. I lifted my head. My gaze cutting through the crowd and landing on Lu Chengyuan. He stood a few steps away, half blocked by two representatives from the partner companies. His brows were tightly knit. He shifted his foot as if to step forward, but his arm was immediately pulled back by someone beside him. Whispering something, he could only stand there, sending me signals through the crowd. Stay calm. Don't act rashly. We'll talk later. Stay calm. Talk later. The thing I had guarded for 6 years had turned into a joke for 300 people to witness in the last 30 seconds. And he wanted me to stay calm. The barely contained smugness on Zhou Minting's face flickered for a moment before being masked by a look of concern. Director Shen. Your hand is bleeding. Let me take you to the infirmary to get it treated. She reached out to support my arm. I took a half step back abruptly, avoiding any possible contact with her. I was the chief legal officer. My job was to identify risks, quantify losses, and make decisions with the most rational approach. Now, the biggest systemic risk had already exploded. No need to trouble you, Assistant Zhou. My voice was so flat it even felt unfamiliar to me. No choking. No trembling. It's just a minor injury. No big deal. I curled my still bleeding fingers into a fist, my nails digging into my palm. The sharp pain pulled my mind back into focus. I couldn't fall apart here. In everyone's eyes, Shen Zhuan was professional, tough, and unbreakable. They could gossip about me behind my back, sympathize or mock me, but they wouldn't see me break. I turned to Zhou Minting and forced out a standard, faint smile. But still, thank you for bringing such good news. Assistant Zhou, the Lu family has a new addition, a great joy. As a member of the company, I'm happy for him too. Her smile froze for less than a second. She hadn't expected this reaction from me. I turned around, facing the colleagues still standing there, and raised my uninjured hand. Everyone, carry on. Don't let this ruin the mood. Old Fong. The appellate brief for the intellectual property infringement cases ended to my email before 9 tomorrow morning. The extreme contrast made the atmosphere even more awkward. Old Fong nodded dumbly. I didn't look at anyone anymore. I turned and walked toward the heavy doors of the bank T hall. Every step was steady. Behind me, all those gazes clung to my back. Especially Lu Chengyuan's, burning so hot it made my spine feel like it was on fire. I didn't look back. Walking out of the banquet hall, the sea breeze hit me with a salty, damp chill. I followed the stone path outside the hotel, all the way to the farthest end of the pool, where a row of lounge chairs was hidden under palm trees. No one was there, only the sound of waves crashing in the distance. After confirming no one was around, the knees I had kept tense all night finally gave way. I bent over, gripping the railing beside me, and retched violently. My stomach churned, but nothing came out. Tears finally broke through the last line of defense, falling in heavy drops onto the stone pavement. 6 years. When we first met, all he had left in his pocket was a crumpled business plan and half a credit card. I had just graduated, holding my first offer from a law firm. My head full of dreams about becoming the best legal professional in the industry. I helped him build the legal framework for Rui Hang technology from scratch. Day and night, I pored over contracts, ran due diligence, and plugged loopholes. In that office converted from a basement garage, he held my hand and said, Zhuan, When the company goes public, I'll give you the most magnificent wedding in the world. He also said you are my only trump card, Lu Chengyuan. Because of those words, I agreed to a secret marriage. I thought it was a sweet sacrifice we were making for our future. I poured all my professional skills, my best years, and my unreserved love into this man. Turns out, it was all wishful thinking on my part. He had already paved another path for himself. I was just the scaffolding he used to build his skyscraper. Once the building was topped off, the scaffolding had to be dismantled. Who is that real Mrs. Lu? Su Wanqing. When did she get pregnant? The baby was born last week, at least 10 months ago. He had already betrayed me. What was I doing 10 months ago? Right. I was in Silicon Valley, working on the cross-border intellectual property compliance framework for the Polaris project. For a month and a half, I slept only 3 hours a day. My only contact with him was a voice message at 2 in the morning. Done for today. Get some rest. My hands trembling. I pulled out my phone. I dialed his number. He picked up before the first ring even finished. Jiwan, where are you? Listen to me, Lu Chengyuan. I'm at Pavilion 9 near the South Pool. I'll give you 20 minutes. If you're not here in 20 minutes, I'll send screenshots of our marriage certificate and every text you've sent me in the past 6 years to all the board members of Ruiheng Technology and the top 5 investors. I hung up. 17 minutes later, he appeared at the entrance of the pavilion. His suit jacket was gone. His shirt sleeves rolled up to his elbows. Sweat on his forehead. He sat down next to me. He reached out to touch my shoulder. I recoiled half a step. Jiwan, don't say my name. Calm down. It's not what you think. I turned to look at him. For the first time scrutinizing him the way I would witness a man I had shared a bed with for 6 years. Then tell me what it is. Is Zhou Minting spreading rumors? Or do you not have another legally recognized wife? Or does that newborn baby have nothing to do with you? Lu Chengyuan. His Adam's apple moved. Silence. That silence was crueler than any excuse. Her name is Su Wanqing. He finally said, his voice hoarse. She's the only daughter of Su Zhenhai, chairman of Huaxing Group. Huaxing Group, the cornerstone investor for Ruiheng Technologies U.S. IPO. The most critical source of funding for the Polaris project. The last shred of illusion shattered. This wasn't a drunken one-night stand. It wasn't a slip-up during an emotional, dry spell. This was a calculated business marriage. A naked exchange of interests. So, to get Huaxing's money, for your Polaris project, you married Su Wanqing and had her give you a daughter at just the right time. I paused for a second. Lu Chengyuan, in your heart, what am I to you? A convenient tool. A shadow partner to watch over your home. Or a former partner who signed a non-disclosure agreement and could be let go at any moment. I didn't. I never thought that way. His voice shot up. Jiwan. My feelings for you over these 6 years have been real. Shut up. Hearing you say these things only makes me sick. I stood up and looked down at him. One last question. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about me? About your Mrs. Lu? He avoided my gaze and looked at the ground beneath his feet. Wanqing. She's not in good health. She barely made it through this childbirth and is still in the hospital. The Su family's stance is clear. This investment is crucial for the IPO. Without it, the Polaris project is dead. The Polaris project. The legal framework I built from scratch. The compliance structure I worked day and night to put together. Now, coming out of his mouth, it had become the rope binding me. So what you're saying, I let me continue being Director Shen. Pretending I know nothing. Watching you and your wife and daughter live happily as a family of 3, while I keep slaving away for you to secure the IPO. Give me a little more time. He stood up and tried to get closer to me. Once the IPO is settled, I'll come clean with the Su family and give you your rightful place. Money, shares, a house, whatever you want. I can give it to you. Compensation. 6 years traded for a payout. I laughed until tears rolled down my face. Lu Chengyuan. Do you really think I can't live without you? Do you think I'll keep enduring like I have for the past 6 years? Waiting for that promise that's always in the future. He reached out to wipe my tears. Don't touch me. I took a big step back. Divorce. He froze. Handle the paperwork tomorrow. As for the asset division, I want 25% of Ruiheng Technologies shares. You're insane. He was almost growling. The company is in the most critical phase of its IPO preparation. If you split the shares now, what will the investors think? This will destroy Ruihang. That's your problem. I met his gaze. You're the one who broke the marriage contract first. I'm just exercising my rights. Or would you rather I, as the company's former chief legal officer who holds all the core secrets, compile a report on those not-so-transparent data optimization details in the Polaris project and send it to the SEC, NASDAQ, and the 5 cornerstone investors? His face turned pale, then red. He stared at me. His lips trembled twice. But no words came out. I saw it clearly. In those eyes that once told me, "You are my only retreat," there was not just shock, anger, and resentment. There was also a flash of ruthlessness. The night wind rustled the palm leaves, making a rustling sound. On the ride back to the city, we sat in the front and back rows, separated by an entire row of seats. His silence and mine piled together, more unbearable than any argument. He looked at me 3 times in the rearview mirror. Each time, I faced the window, giving him a side profile with no room for negotiation. The next morning, I didn't go to the office. I drove to a small 2-bedroom, 78-square-meter apartment on Linha Road in the east of the city. I bought it 5 years ago with my first big bonus. And the property deed only has my name on it. Lu Chengyuan doesn't know this place exists. It's the last escape route I left for myself. The face in the bathroom mirror looked terrible. Pale, dark circles under the eyes. The wound on my right hand cleaned, disinfected, and wrapped in fresh gauze. But my eyes were clear. I pulled out my phone and called someone first. Lin Kuei, my college roommate, now the chief reporter at Prism, a leading financial media outlet. Jiwan, calling so early. What's wrong? I want a divorce. There was 5 seconds of silence on the other end. Wait for me. I'll be there in 40 minutes. 38 minutes later, she appeared at my door, carrying 2 Americanos and a bag of croissants. She glanced at my bandaged right hand but didn't ask. She sat down and listened as I told the whole story from the beginning. I recounted everything from start to finish, without any unnecessary emotion, like I was presenting a case to the board. When I got to Zhou Minting's speech at the banquet, Lin Kuei set her coffee cup down heavily on the table. That woman did it on purpose. Of course she did, I said. The question is who's backing her? The Su family. Not sure, but she's been with Lu Chengyuan for 4 years. She wouldn't drop a bomb like that in front of the whole company on her own. Either Lu Chengyuan instructed her to mentally prepare me, force me to step down voluntarily, or the Su family is using her to test my reaction. Lin Kuei looked at me. What do you need most right now? A lawyer. Do you know Gu Hang? Gu Hang. I thought for a moment. The one from D law firm. Specializes in high-net-worth divorce cases. He handled the Hu family's split last year, a 4.3 billion yuan case. Clean and tidy. He's my college senior. I'll set up a meeting for you. Thanks. Anne. Lin Kuei's expression turned serious. Jiwan, what cards do you have in your hand? I didn't answer immediately. I walked into the bedroom and pulled out a stainless steel safe from the bottom of the wardrobe. I opened it. Inside were 3 things. An encrypted USB drive, a stack of paper documents sealed in a file folder, a dark red marriage certificate, the USB drive. eBay has backups of all core legal documents from Ruihang Technologies' founding to now, including the complete compliance files for the Polaris project. The paper documents, I pulled out the top one and handed it to Lin Kuei. She flipped it open, read for 3 seconds, then looked up sharply. This is the registration certificates for the 12 core patents of Ruihang Technologies' underlying algorithms. Look at the rights holder column. She looked down. Shen Zhuan. All in my name. I said. In the early days of the company, when there was nothing, the tech team produced results that needed patent protection, but the company didn't even have a basic account set up. All the intellectual property registrations were handled in my personal name as a proxy. Later, as the company grew, I brought up transferring the rights several times. But Lu Chengyuan always said not to rush, to focus on running the business first. And it's been 6 years. 6 years. Lin Kuei put the documents down and let out a long breath. Shen Zhuan, do you realize what you're holding in your hands? The core technology assets disclosed in Ruihang Technologies' prospectus. The actual rights holder isn't the company. It's the personal property of the company's chief legal officer. If the SEC finds out about this, the prospectus involves false disclosures, and the IPO will be halted immediately. I closed the safe. That's why I said 25% of the shares isn't much. On the third day, I returned to the company. As soon as the elevator doors opened, the receptionist's gaze toward me was off. Her eyes darted over and quickly away. Lips pressed together, as if she was holding back a flood of words. I walked into the legal department as usual, pushing the door open. My 6 subordinates all looked at me in unison. The subtle atmosphere in the office told one thing those who needed to know already knew. Morning. I set down my bag and turned on my computer. Just like any ordinary workday. Director Shen Zhao Lin, the head of legal, hesitated. Is the contract review for Nanqing real estate done? Yes. It's in your email. Good. Dismissed. At 9:30, a message popped up on the internal system. From the IT department. Dear Director Shen, per the upgrade of the company's information security management system, your SLEVEL database access will be temporarily adjusted starting at 12:00 today. Relevant materials have been transferred to Deputy Legal Director Zhang Ming for interim management. I stared at the line on the screen. Unsurprised. Here it comes. Lu Chengyuan's first move was to cut off my access to core data. I picked up the desk phone and dialed Zhang Ming's extension. Zhang Ming, did you see the IT department's access adjustment notice? D. Director Shen. I just received it too. Should we ask President Lu about this? No need to ask him. Print a copy of the legal documents for the 3 projects: Nanqing Real Estate, Huaqing Pharmaceuticals, and the Polaris Plan, and bring them to my office before noon today. It's a standard work handover procedure. If anyone asks, say it's for an internal audit in the legal department. Got it. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair. A knock came at the door. Before I could say come in, the door swung open. Zhou Minting stood at the entrance. Today, she wore a cream-colored suit, light makeup, and a very gentle smile. Director Shen. President Lu requests you come to his office. What time? Now. Tell him I have 3 contracts to review this morning. I can make it by 2:00 p.m. Zhou Minting's smile didn't waver. President Lu said now. I looked up from my computer screen at her. Assistant Zhou. You've been at Ruihang for 4 years. You should know the legal department's work schedule isn't decided by the CEO's office. 2:00 p.m. I'll give him my time. She stood there for 2 seconds, then turned and left. At 10:10. Lu Chengyuan himself appeared at the door of my legal department office. He knocked. For the first time in 6 years. He knocked on my office door. Come in. He closed the door and sat down across from me. We were separated by a desk. About as far apart as 6 years of lies. How's your hand? Don't worry about my hand. He paused. The access adjustment, I had the IT department do it. I know. It's not targeting you. It's a compliance requirement before the IPO. All core data. Lu Chengyuan. I cut him off. We're both business people. Don't use compliance talk to fool someone with a legal background. You took away my access because you're afraid I'll use the Polaris Plan materials to make trouble. You want to cut off my escape route. He said nothing. I pulled an A4 sheet from my drawer and slid it across to him. He looked down. His expression changed. This is the draft of our divorce agreement I've prepared. The property division only covers company equity. All other personal assets remain separate. 25%. You sign. And I'll cooperate through the remaining IPO advisory period. With all core data securely transferred. Impossible. Then let me ask you this different Lido, you want to give me 25% of the shares? Or do you want the entire IPO to go to zero? Are you threatening me? I'm negotiating with you. I picked up the printed IT notice from the desk. You took away my system permissions and thought you could control the information. Lu Chengyuan. Every core legal document of this company has passed through my hands since day one. Do you think someone who has worked in legal affairs for 6 years wouldn't keep a backup for themselves? His fingers tightened around the armrest of the chair. And I pulled up a photo on my phone and turned it to show him. You might have forgotten one thing. On the screen was the cover of a patent registration certificate. The patent holder. Shen Zhuan. All 12 core patents for Ruihang's underlying algorithms are registered under my personal name. You kept saying there was no rush to transfer them. Well, now there really is no need. Lu Chengyuan stared at the photo. He looked as if someone had struck him hard on the temple. After a long pause, he said 4 words. You wouldn't try me. As Lu Chengyuan walked out of my office, a vein was still throbbing at his temple. He didn't leave a single word behind. The force with which he closed the door was a bit heavier than usual. I sat alone in my office chair. And the hand holding my phone finally began to tremble. Not out of fear. It was because all the grievances and anger accumulated over 6 years had finally found a precise outlet. At 3 in the afternoon, Gu Heng's call came through. Shen Zhuan. Lin Kuei asked me to contact you. She gave me a general idea of the situation. Hello, Lawyer Gu. Is it convenient to meet and talk? 7 tonight. 39th floor of China World Tower Phase 3. My firm. At exactly 7. I was sitting in Gu Heng's office. He was younger than I had imagined. Around 37 or 38. Wearing frameless glasses. On his desk were a laptop and 3 pens of different colors. I've got a handle on the situation. He said straight to the point. Your marriage to Lu Chengyuan is legally valid. Registered for 6 years. No children. You're a founding member of Ruihang Technology, currently serving as Chief Legal Officer, and the company is about to go public in the U.S. During the marriage, he separately registered a marriage with Su Wanqing and had a daughter with her. This constitutes bigamy. I was taken aback. Bigamy? Your marriage was registered first. His with Su Wanqing came later. If Su Wanqing's side also involves a legal registration rather than a de facto marriage, then he's suspected of bigamy, which carries criminal liability. I hadn't thought of that angle. The bystander sees more than the player. Here I was, someone who had worked in legal affairs for 6 years. Yet when it came to my own matters, I couldn't even sort out the most basic legal relationship. Or, Gu Heng adjusted his glasses. Maybe he and Su Wanqing didn't have a legal registration, just living together publicly as husband and wife. I'm not sure. Zhou Minting's exact words were Mrs. Lu. But that phrasing doesn't necessarily mean a legal registration. That's the first fact we need to clarify. Gu Heng wrote a line in his notebook. Second thing, you said the core patents are in your name. 12 of them. All registered in the first 2 years of the company's founding. Held in my personal name on behalf. And the ownership has never been transferred. That's your biggest leverage. But it's also a double-edged sword. What do you mean? If the opposing lawyer is smart enough, they'll argue that these patents are service inventions. Although registered in your personal name, they were actually produced in the course of performing your duties. So ownership should belong to the company. But I wasn't an employee of Ruihang at the time. I said. The patents were registered in the early days of the company's establishment. Back then, Ruihang didn't even have its business license approved yet. The tech team developed them in their personal capacity, and I registered them in my personal name on their behalf. Strictly speaking, my labor relationship with the company was formally established after the patent registrations. Gu Heng stopped writing and looked at me. Did you sign any holding agreement back then? No. Lu Chengyuan thought it was too much trouble. Said we were all family and didn't need that. Gu Heng leaned back in his chair. Shen Zhuan, do you know how good the cards in your hand are? That's why I came to you. I need to confirm one thing. Did you come to me to get a divorce? Or to go to war? Both. Good. He closed his laptop. Starting tomorrow, you need to do 3 things. First, go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to retrieve the marriage registration records of Lu Chengyuan and Su Wanqing to confirm whether there is a legal registration. Second, lock up the complete registration materials and original payment receipts for the 12 patents in a third-party safe deposit box independent of the company. Third, he looked at me. From now on, in all communications at the company involving Lu Chengyuan, record everything. The next day, the investigator arranged by Gu Heng reported back. There was no marriage registration record for Lu Chengyuan and Su Wanqing, at least. No legal registration information could be found in the domestic civil affairs system. They didn't get a marriage certificate. I stood in the coffee shop downstairs from the company, phone in hand. Gu Heng said on the other end, 2 possibilities. 1. They indeed didn't go through legal marriage registration. The Su family might be waiting until after the IPO to make it official. Or handle it through overseas registration. 2. He used different information. But that's unlikely. So, legally speaking, he and Su Wanqing aren't husband and wife right now. Correct. But that doesn't affect your divorce petition or property division claims. He maintained a long-term improper relationship with a third party and had a child during the marriage. As the non-fault party, you can claim a larger share in the property division. How much more? It's up to the court's discretion. But considering your actual contributions to the company, the extent of his fault, And the patent leverage you hold 25% isn't out of the question. After hanging up, I returned to the company. In the elevator, I ran into He, the deputy director of the marketing department. She saw me, and a flicker of unease crossed her face. Good morning, President Shen. Good morning. About that, the banquet the night before. What about it? My calm demeanor stopped her cold. Nothing. The elevator reached the legal department floor. As the doors opened, I saw a stranger standing at the end of the hallway. A woman in her early 30s, wearing a well-tailored beige trench coat, her long hair pinned up, and a necklace around her neck that didn't show a brand but was clearly expensive. Zhou Minting stood beside her. They were talking. When she saw me, Zhou Minting put on that standard smile I was already starting to loathe. Director Shen. Perfect timing. Let me introduce you. This is Su Wanqing. Miss Su. Su Wanqing. In person, standing in the hallway of my company. Su Wanqing turned to look at me. She was younger than I imagined. Around 26 or 27. Her makeup was refined but not flashy, and she carried an air of ease that came from a well-off upbringing. She spoke first. Hello. Director Shen. I've heard so much about you. She extended her hand. I didn't take it. What brings Miss Su to Ruihang? My tone was like I was receiving an ordinary visiting client. Su Wanqing's hand paused in the air for a second. Then she naturally withdrew it without showing any embarrassment. Cheng Yuan asked me to come by the company and check on the pre-IPO preparations. After all, Hua Sheng is a cornerstone investor. And my dad wanted me to keep an eye on things. Cheng Yuan. She called him Cheng Yuan. Right in front of me. Zhou Minting added. Miss Su will likely be visiting the company often. President Liu has specially arranged the VIP office on the 28th floor for her use. Oh. I looked at Zhou Minting. Using the VIP office requires approval from the administration department and a security assessment from the legal department. Has that process been completed? Zhou Minting's smile faltered. President Liu arranged it directly. The visitor management system at Ruihang Technology was drafted by me. No matter who arranges it, the process can't be skipped. Please take care of the paperwork. Assistant Zhou. I turned to Su Wanqing. Miss Su. Until the procedures are completed, the company has a dedicated visitor reception room, second floor, third door on the left. There's coffee and refreshments. With that, I walked past the two of them, pushed open the door to the legal department, and went inside. Behind me, Su Wanqing and Zhou Minting exchanged some kind of look. I didn't care. Once I sat down, I sent a message to Guheng. Su Wanqing showed up at the company in person. Guheng replied instantly. Remember to record. Don't confront her directly. Let her make the first move. 2 hours later, my office phone rang. It was Su Wanqing's voice. Director Shen. Sorry to bother you at work. I've already set the process in motion with Zhou Minting for the visitor reception room procedures. Actually, there's another matter I wanted to discuss with you privately. Is that convenient? How about lunch together? I have a meeting at noon. Then afternoon tea. 3 o'clock. You pick the place. I was silent for 3 seconds. The coffee shop downstairs from the company. 3 o'clock. I arrived at the coffee shop 2 minutes before 3. Su Wanqing was already sitting by the window. 2 lattes placed in front of her. I ordered for you in advance. I heard you drink oat milk. She had even found out what coffee I drink. I sat down but didn't touch the coffee. What did Miss Su want to talk about? She clasped her hands on the table, leaning forward slightly, her expression not aggressive but carrying an almost candid gentleness. Director Shen, I know what you're thinking. You think I'm here to assert dominance or provoke you, aren't you? No. I'm here to negotiate terms with you. What terms? My father asked me to pass along a message. She took a craft paper envelope from her bag and slid it over. This is a compensation plan drafted by Huaxing Group. 2 million in cash, plus a property in Hangzhou, totaling about 35 million. In exchange for what? In exchange for your divorce agreement with Liu Chengyuan, and the transfer of ownership of the 12 patents you hold. She looked at me, waiting for my reaction. 35 million. The Su family was generous, but they had priced my 6 years of effort and entire career at 35 million. Miss Su, do you know the valuation of Ruihang Technology ahead of its IPO? The prospectus sets it at $1.5 billion. 1.5 billion. That's over 10 billion RMB. The 25% equity I'm asking for. At that valuation, is roughly over 3 billion. You're offering 35 million to buy out over 3 billion in leverage. Su Wanqing's expression barely changed. Director Shen, that 25% won't go through, whether through private agreement or litigation. Lu Chengyuan won't agree. And my father won't let it happen. Why? Because once you hold 25% equity, you'd become the second largest shareholder of Ruiheng. The Su family won't allow an uncontrollable variable in the equity structure. That's your problem. Su Wanqing let out a soft sigh. Director Shen, I came in good faith. 35 million is the first offer. It's negotiable, but the patent ownership is non-negotiable. Either you transfer it voluntarily, or we pursue legal action claiming it as a service invention. My father has already hired the team from Sidley Austin. Sidley Austin, one of the top 5 law firms globally. The Su family was planning to crush me with money. Miss Su. I stood up, pushing the envelope back untouched. Go back and tell your father 3 things. First, 35 million can't buy me, neither can 300 million. Second, those 12 patents are my legally registered personal property. Whoever wants to sue, I'll see them in court. 30, you'd better check what legal relationship you and Lu Chengyuan actually have. Because as far as I know, you don't even have a marriage certificate. Su Wanqing's fingers tightened slightly, then quickly relaxed. Director Shen, you don't want to make things ugly. I didn't start the ugliness. I've heard Chengyuan talk about you. He said you're the most rational person he's ever met. A rational person should know going against the Su family isn't a wise choice. I'm not going against the Su family. I looked down at her. I'm taking back what's mine. After leaving the coffee shop, I directly sent Guheng the audio file. 15 minutes later, he called back. The recording quality is good. Su Wanqing personally admitted that the Huaxin Group is involved in this matter, which is very important. She also mentioned Shengde law firm. This indicates the other side is already assembling a legal team. What's their strategy? Clearly, 2 parallel approaches. One is to throw money at you, continuously raising the offer until you accept. The other is to pursue patent ownership through legal channels, trying to pull the trump card out of your hands. Can they succeed? On the patent front, their chances are low. The timing of your registration predates the signing of the labor contract. It's a hard fact. But they can drag it out. Once a lawsuit is filed, Ruiheng's IPO process will be affected. The SEC is very sensitive to intellectual property disputes, so the Su family's real goal isn't to win the lawsuit, but to use the threat of litigation to force my hand. Exactly. They're betting you don't want mutual destruction. They bet wrong. Guheng was silent for a few seconds on the other end of the line. Shen Zhuan, I need to confirm one more time, what are your bottom lines? Divorce, 25% of the equity, and my clean reputation. What if you can't get 25% in the end? Then Ruiheng Technology won't go public. Guheng didn't say anything more. After a moment, he said, understood. I'll start drafting the formal divorce petition. That evening, I received a message from Lu Chengyuan. I didn't know Su Wanqing was coming to the company today. I didn't reply. Another message. Jiwan, can you give me a chance to explain face to face? Still no reply. A third. We can talk about the patent, but using this to threaten the company's IPO won't do you any good either. You have equity in it too. I replied to this one. How much equity do I have? Lu Chengyuan, in 6 years at Ruiheng, you gave me 3% in options. 3%. According to the valuation adjustment mechanism you promised the Su family. After the IPO, the Su family will hold 15%. You personally hold 42%. I have 3%. In these 6 years, the lawsuits I've deflected for you, the mergers and acquisitions I've completed, the compliance system I've built is that worth 3%. Do you think I should continue to play along with you for this 3%? This time, it was his turn not to reply. The next morning, Ruiheng Technology held its monthly management meeting. I attended as usual. I sat in the third seat on the left side of the long table. Lu Chengyuan sat at the head, his face revealing nothing, but I noticed an extra chair to his right. Su Wanqing sat in that chair. All the management in the conference room saw this scene at the same time. A few people exchanged glances. The vice president of technology, Old Fong, looked a bit displeased, while others had varied expressions, but no one spoke. Today's meeting has an additional agenda item. Lu Chengyuan began. As a cornerstone investor, The Huaxing Group wants to conduct an in-depth due diligence on the company's core business before the IPO. Miss Su Wanqing will serve as Huaxing's representative and will be stationed in the office for the next 2 weeks. Please cooperate with all departments. The conference room was silent. Tea for 3 seconds. Market Deputy Director He Yen quietly said, "Welcome, Miss Su." Su Wanqing nodded slightly in acknowledgement. Then her gaze swept over me. Lightly, quickly, but I caught it. "One more thing," I said. My voice not loud but audible to everyone. The investor's due diligence requires signing a non-disclosure agreement before accessing the company's core data. The legal department will issue a standard NDA document this afternoon. Please sign it, Miss Su. Before arranging data access. This was a perfectly normal legal procedure. But in the current context, everyone sensed a different undertone. Lu Chengyuan glanced at me. The legal department will handle it. Okay. I looked down at the meeting materials in front of me. My expression blank. But I noticed Su Wanqing pinching the fabric of her skirt under the table. After the meeting, Old Fong stopped me. "Shen, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "That's Su Wanqing, she's an investor representative here for due diligence. Standard procedure." Old Fong looked at me, seemed to want to say something, then swallowed his words. "Forget it. You know what you're doing." He patted me on the shoulder and left. I returned to my office and closed the door. There was a message from Lin Kuei on my phone. "Are you free today? I have something important to show you." I replied. "Evening." At 8:30 in the evening, I arrived at Lin Kuei's place. When she opened the door, she was holding a stack of printed documents. "Sit down and take a look." I took them. It was an internal project report from Ruihang Technology, dated 3 months ago. The title: Project Polaris Phase 3 Technical Architecture and Compliance Review Report. I flipped through 2 pages and stopped. The person credited for this report is Su Wanqing. Lin Kuei said. I carefully read through the report. The framework structure, core clause design, risk assessment model, all of it was built by me. Even the document format followed my usual layout style. But the credited author had been changed to Su Wanqing. Where did this come from? A mid-level employee at Ruihang tipped off our media outlet. He wasn't there to expose anything, was asking if we could help find a deleted old version of the document. He said that 3 months ago, the report in the system still had your name on it. But it was later changed in the back end. I leaned back on the sofa and closed my eyes for a moment. So Lu Chengyuan hadn't just betrayed our marriage. He had also stolen my work. He took the compliance framework I had spent nearly half a year building, credited it to Su Wanqing, and used it to curry favor with the Su family. Juan, I'm fine. Your face is pale as a ghost. And you say you're fine. I opened my eyes. Koei, can you keep the original files of this material for me? Including the screenshots of the old version provided by that mid-level employee and the system modification logs. Already saved. Encrypted. One more thing, can you look into Su Wanqing's background? What exactly is her role within the Huaxing Group? Does she have any professional background in law or compliance? You suspect she can't even understand this report? I'm sure she can't. The cross-hedging risk assessment model used in this report was developed by my graduate advisors team. No more than 20 people in the entire industry use this model. If Su Wanqing really wrote this, she wouldn't just be a decorative figurehead sent to act as an investor representative. Lin Kuei looked at me. The expression on your face right now is exactly the same as when you land a case you know you're going to win. Evidence is the most important weapon. He stole my work and put someone else's name on it. I'll make him pay for this. How? You'll know when the time comes. I stood up to leave. Juan, Lin Kuei called out to me. Have you considered that Zhou Minting's public remarks at the annual meeting might not just be the Su family pulling the strings? What do you mean? If the Su family wanted to get rid of you, there are 100 quieter ways to do it. They chose the most high-profile, humiliating method, exposing it in public. That feels more like they were trying to provoke you into losing your composure on the spot, making you slip up, and then using that slip-up to kick you out of the company. You think Lu Chengyuan orchestrated it? Hard to say, but think about it. If you had broken down and made a scene, he could have used personal reasons to put you on leave, and then smoothly take over everything you had. Your patents, your data, your connections. By the time you came back to your senses, you'd have nothing left. I stood at the door for 5 seconds, thinking, but I didn't break down. Exactly. You didn't. So now they're panicking. Monday morning at 9:00 a.m. The interim board meeting for the third quarter of Ruihang Technology. The agenda had been sent 2 days prior, with only 2 items. IPO progress report and financial data review. I walked into the conference room 10 minutes before the meeting and noticed a change in seating arrangements. My nameplate had been moved to the far end of the long table, the corner farthest from the main seat. I picked up the nameplate, walked to my original seat third from the left on that side, placed it down, and sat. No one said anything. When Lu Chengyuan entered, he glanced at my seat, frowned slightly, but remained silent. The board members gradually arrived. 5 directors: Lu Chengyuan, CFO Qian Liming, External Independent Director Lu Yuanbai, Su Family Representative Su Zhenhai, and a new face. "Let me introduce everyone," Lu Chengyuan said. "This is lawyer Meng Dun, a partner at Xingda Law Firm, who will serve as the company's external legal advisor starting today." The pen in my hand paused. External legal advisor. With the company already having a chief legal officer, hiring an external legal advisor, this was a move to sideline me. Meng Dun nodded at me. He was in his early 40s, wearing a dark suit, his expression so professional it was almost expressionless. "Director Shen." "Hello." "Lawyer Meng." The meeting began. CFO Qian Liming spent 20 minutes reporting on the IPO progress and financial data. Everything was normal until he flipped to the last slide of the PPT. One final item. Regarding the confirmation of ownership of the company's core intellectual property. He glanced at Lu Chengyuan. Lu Chengyuan gave a slight nod. Upon review, it has been found that the company's 12 underlying algorithm patents are currently registered under the personal name of Chief Legal Officer Shen Jiwan. The legal department needs to complete the ownership transfer procedures as soon as possible to ensure the accuracy of the prospectus disclosures. A deadline of 15 working days is recommended. The entire conference room's gaze fell on me. Independent Director Lu Yuanbai frowned. "Wait, 12 core patents are not under the company's name," Qian Liming said. "It's a legacy issue. An arrangement for nominee holdings from the company's early days. Is there a nominee agreement?" "No written agreement." The wrinkles on Lu Yuanbai's face deepened by 2 lines. Su Zhenhai, sitting across from me, a shrewd man in his 60s, took a sip of tea without changing his expression. "Director Shen," he began, his voice unhurried. "What's your take on this?" Everyone looked at me. I put down my pen. "Director Su, the answer to this question is simple. These 12 patents were legally applied for and obtained by me in my personal name before Ruihang Technology was officially registered. At the time, there was no nominee agreement. No written document indicating that the ownership of these patents should belong to a company that did not yet exist," Qian Liming said. "But the technical achievements of these patents were developed by the Ruihang team. The RD team also hadn't signed labor contracts with Ruihang at that time because Ruihang didn't exist yet." The conference room fell silent for a few seconds. Meng Dun spoke up. "What Director Shen said is a legal fact. But from a fairness and reasonableness perspective, Lawyer Meng," I interrupted him, "you're a partner at Xingda, so you should know better than anyone the law is about facts and evidence, not feelings of fairness and reasonableness." Meng Dun's smile didn't waver. "Of course. So I suggest both sides sit down and negotiate a solution acceptable to all within the legal framework." "I agree to negotiate," I said, "but I do not accept the 15 working day deadline. The ownership of the patents is a significant personal property right of mine, and it cannot be unilaterally set with a deadline for transfer by the company's board. This is not a legal process. This is an overreach of authority," Lu Yuanbai said. "Director Shen has a point. This matter should not be handled by setting a deadline in a board meeting." Su Zhenhai put down his teacup and glanced at Lu Chengyuan. Lu Chengyuan tapped his fingers lightly on the table twice. "Then let Lawyer Meng and Director Shen discuss it privately and MIT the plan to the board for review." "All right," I said. The meeting adjourned. As I was packing up, Su Zhenhai paused as he passed by me. "Director Shen, feel free to drop by Huaxing sometime." That wasn't an invitation, it was a warning. I looked up at him. "You're too kind." "Director Su, once the negotiation plan is ready, we'll naturally meet." He grunted in acknowledgement and left. I was the last to leave the meeting room. As I reached the door, my phone vibrated. "Gu Hang, send me the recording from just now." Meng Dun arranged to meet me the next afternoon in a small conference room on the 29th floor of Ruihang. He brought only one assistant, and a stack of documents was spread across the table. I came alone. Director Shen. Let me start by stating my proposal. He pushed a drafted intellectual property rights confirmation and transfer agreement toward me. I opened it and skimmed through it. The core clause. Shen Jiwan would transfer 12 patents to Ruihang Technology without compensation. In return, the company would pay Shen Jiwan a technical service fee of 15 million renminbi. Transfer without compensation. A technical service fee of 15 million. From 35 million down to 15 million. It seemed the Su family's pricing strategy was to lower the offer as time went on. Lawyer Meng. Do you think I'll sign this? I don't think so. But it's a starting point. Then let me show you my starting point. I took a document out of my bag and pushed it in front of him. He opened it and read for 30 seconds. His brow twitched slightly. This was a document I had asked Guheng to prepare. Title: Legal Memorandum on Suspected False Disclosure of Intellectual Property Information in Ruihang Technologies Prospectus. The content was brief, with one core paragraph. Ruihang Technologies Prospectus listed 12 core algorithm patents as company assets. But the actual rights holder was the company employee Shen Jiwan. As an individual, if this fact were deemed by the SEC as a material omission or false disclosure, the company could face IPO suspension, fines, and investor lawsuits. For now, only my lawyer and I have seen this memorandum, I said, but my lawyer told me that if necessary, it could reach the SEC's desk within 48 hours. Meng Dan closed the document. Director Shen, you're threatening the company. I'm protecting my legitimate rights. These two things aren't contradictory. You're also a shareholder. If the IPO is suspended, your own equity value goes to 0. 3%. I said. 3% in options. With 2 years left on a 4-year vesting period. Even if the company goes public, I'd only get 1.5%. I can afford the loss. What do you want? 25% equity. Not options, real common stock. Plus the divorce agreement. And one more thing, restore me as the named author of the Phase 3 report for Project Polaris. Meng Dan slowly leaned back in his chair. Director Shen. President Liu won't accept your terms. The Su family certainly won't either. Then let them not accept. I stood up. Lawyer Meng. Let me add one more thing. You're a partner at Xingda. And taking this case for legal fees is perfectly natural. But you should make a judgment. What are the odds of your client winning this fight against me? If the odds aren't good, the longer this drags on, the more Ruihang's IPO hangs in the balance. In the end, the biggest loser won't be me, it'll be your client. He didn't say anything. As I reached the door, he called out to me. Director Shen. I turned around. President Liu asked me to pass along a message. What message? He said never intended to hurt you. I stood at the door and looked at him for 2 seconds. Pass one back for me. He already has. When I returned to the office, I found something new on my desk. A pale pink gift bag. Inside was a silk scarf. Attached was a card. On it, a single line in neat handwriting. Sister Jiwan. I hope we can be friends. Wanqing. I dropped the scarf and the card into the wastebasket. The next morning, I was cornered by Lu Chengyuan in the parking lot. His car was parked next to mine, and he was leaning against the hood, waiting. Jiwan, please call me Director Shen at the company. You're pushing too hard. You're the one pushing too hard. Sending Meng Dan to negotiate with me. Having Su Wanqing deliver gifts. Are you negotiating or putting on a show? He took a step closer. Some people on the board are already discussing whether to make personnel changes in the legal department. Who's discussing it? Qian Liming or Su Zhenhai? If you keep this up, they'll act. You've been at the company for 6 years. You should know that once the board passes a personnel resolution, I can't stop it alone. Can't stop it. Or don't want to. His Adam's apple moved. Jiwan. I'm trying to help you. You're trying to help yourself. You're afraid the patent dispute will blow up and ruin the IPO. So you need my cooperation. You came to me not because you care about me, but because you need me to quietly sign away my leverage. Do you have to see everything in the worst possible light? You're the one who made everything turn out for the worst. I opened my car door. Move. He didn't budge. What if I say 15%? 15% equity. Plus the credit restoration you mentioned. I'll cooperate with the divorce proceedings. 15%. He was giving in. But it wasn't enough. 20. Jiwan 20. Not a penny less. Plus the restoration of credit for the Polaris project. A public apology statement. And Zhou Minting's resignation. You want to fire Zhou Minting. She publicly humiliated me at the annual meeting. Do you think I should keep working with her? His expression darkened. I'll handle Zhou Minting. But 20% then there's nothing left to discuss. I got in the car and started the engine. He stood in my rearview mirror for a long time, only turning away after I drove out of the parking lot entrance. At 4 o'clock that afternoon, I received an email. The sender was the HR director. Subject: Notice regarding adjustment of Chief Legal Officer's position. The content was only 3 lines. Per the board's interim resolution, due to organizational restructuring needs before the company's IPO, Chief Legal Officer Shen Zhiwan is hereby suspended from all duties effective immediately. Related work will be handled by Deputy Legal Director Zhang Ming. Please complete the handover within 3 working days. Suspension. He had made his move. I stared at the email for a full minute. Then I picked up my phone and called Guheng. They've made their move. Suspended me. Expected. This move has 2 purposes: first, to cut off your power base within the company, and second, to create a fait accompli, paving the way for the board to formally remove you. What should I do? Don't rush. The more anxious they are, the more effective your leverage is. What you need to do now is do nothing. What do you mean? Don't resist this decision. Don't make a scene. Quietly go through the handover process. Let them think you've given up. And then, at the formal removal board meeting, lay all your cards on the table at once. When? They'll convene a special shareholders meeting within a week. What you need to do is prepare all the evidence in that week. Patent ownership. Report credit tampering. Su Wanqing's recording. And he paused. There's something else you might not know. What? My investigator found a piece of information today. 3 months ago, Ruihang Technology made a related party transaction through a Cayman Islands offshore company. The amount wasn't large, $8 million USD, but the counterparty in this transaction was a wholly owned subsidiary of Huaxing Group. What kind of transaction? On paper, it was a technology licensing fee, but based on our preliminary verification, the subject matter of this technology licensing agreement, 3 of the 12 patents under your name. I tightened my grip on the phone. He licensed my patents to the Su family without my authorization. The signatory on the licensing agreement is Deputy Legal Director Zhang Ming, but the approver is Lu Chengyuan. This is a forgery. Yes. That is your last card. Over the next 3 days, I followed Gu Heng's plan and quietly completed the handover of my work. I transferred the documents to Zhang Ming. I packed 2 boxes of personal belongings from my office. Throughout the entire process, I didn't have any conflicts with anyone, even when Zhou Minting came to supervise my packing. I just gave her a slight nod. There was a faint smugness on her face. It was like watching a play that was finally coming to an end. The attitude of my colleagues toward me shifted from sympathy to avoidance. They would take a detour when they saw me in the hallway. The moment I entered the break room, it fell silent. He Yan sent me a message on WeChat saying, "Take care, President Shen," and then never spoke again. Lao Fong approached me privately once. "President Shen, are you really just leaving like this?" "Leaving? Who said I'm leaving?" He looked at me. "Weren't you suspended?" "Suspension isn't resignation. I'm still a shareholder of Ruihang Technology and still Lu Chengyuan's legal wife. As long as these 2 identities haven't been legally revoked, I am not going anywhere." He opened his mouth, then finally patted me on the shoulder and left. On Thursday evening, Gu Heng sent a message. The extraordinary general meeting is set for Monday at 10 a.m. Agenda: Review the removal of Chief Legal Officer Shen Zhiwan from all positions. I replied. Received. On Friday, I went to a certain place. Not a law firm. Not a bank. It was the office of my graduate advisor, Professor Qian Weiyuan. Professor Qian was 63 years old and had just retired from the university last year. But his post-retirement path was very special, had been appointed as a special consultant to the State Council's Securities Regulatory Advisory Committee. In simple terms, he could directly influence major decision-making opinions of the China Securities Regulatory Commission. "Jiwan, have a seat," Professor Qian said, pouring me a cup of tea. "Professor Qian, I'm here today to ask you about something. If a Chinese tech company about to list in the U.S. has false disclosures in its prospectus regarding the ownership of core intellectual property, and its senior executives are suspected of unauthorized patent licensing transactions without the rights holder's permission under such circumstances, Can the cross-border regulatory cooperation mechanism of the China Securities Regulatory Commission be activated? Professor Chen glanced at me. Are you talking about your own company? I didn't deny it. He set down his teacup. Juan. You were my best student when you were at school. You're not here to ask me about legal issues now, you know these things better than anyone. You're here to ask me one thing. What is it? You're a skink if you submit these materials to the regulatory authorities. Will I speak up for you? I was silent for 3 seconds. Yes. Professor Chen stood up, walked to the window, and looked outside for a while. Juan, do you know what I admire most about you? No. You never do anything unprepared. He turned around. Prepare your materials. If the facts are solid and the evidence is sufficient, I won't interfere, but I won't stand by and do nothing either. Thank you. Professor Chen. One more thing. He took a business card from the bookshelf and handed it to me. This person is Han Zheng, co-founder of Tianqi Capital. He came to see me last week, saying they're recruiting a chief compliance officer. I recommended you. Given my current status, he doesn't care about your current status. He cares about your abilities. Have a chat with him. It won't hurt. I took the business card. Tianqi Capital, Ruihang Technology's biggest competitor in the domestic market. Professor Chen, are you helping me keep a backup plan or paving the way forward? He smiled. Smart people don't need others to pave the way for them. I'm just opening a door for you. Whether you walk through it or not is your decision. Monday at 9:45 a.m. I stood outside the conference room on the 29th floor of Ruihang Technology. The extraordinary general meeting was set to start at 10 a.m. I wore a black suit pantsuit with a white blouse. No jewelry. No extra accessories. My hair was tied in a low ponytail. Clean and sharp. The wound on my right hand had healed, leaving a faint scar. Gu Heng stood beside me. Ready. The materials. I raised the briefcase in my hand. All here. At 9:58 a.m. The conference room door opened. 7 people were inside. Lu Chengyuan sat at the head of the table. On his right were Su Zhenhai and Meng Dun. On his left were Qian Liming and external independent director Lu Yuanbai. The other 2 were proxy representatives for minority shareholder. Su Wanqing wasn't there today. Zhou Minting stood in the corner, taking notes. I walked in. Gu Heng followed behind me. Everyone's gaze fell on me simultaneously. Lu Chengyuan's expression shifted when he saw Gu Heng. Director Shen, you can bring a lawyer to today's meeting. But the lawyer has no speaking rights. He's not here to speak. I said. He's here to witness. I sat down at the far end of the long table. The meeting officially began. Qian Liming read out the agenda, the only agenda. To consider and approve the removal of Shen Juan from all positions as Chief Legal Officer. The reason: organizational restructuring needs, and recent severe trust crisis among core management personnel, which is not conducive to the progress of the IPO. The wording was very deliberate. No mention of patents. No mention of marriage. Packaging everything as organizational restructuring and trust crisis. Standard corporate politics. Ladies and gentlemen, before the vote, I have a few points to clarify. Lu Chengyuan began. First, Director Shen has served the company for 6 years, and her contributions are evident to all. Today's resolution is not a denial of her personal abilities but a consideration based on the company's overall interests. Second, the company will provide Director Shen with appropriate severance compensation in accordance with labor laws, including accelerated vesting of options. Third, President Lu. I interrupted him. Are you done? He stopped. If you're done, it's my turn. I opened my briefcase. Dear directors, before you vote, I have 3 documents to submit for the board's review. I took out the first document. First, the ownership certificates for Ruihang Technology's 12 core algorithm patents. All patent registrants are me personally. The company's prospectus listing these patents as company assets constitutes false disclosure. Lu Yuanbai's expression immediately soured. I took out the second document. Second, evidence of authorship tampering in the Phase 3 report of the Arctic Star project. 3 months ago, the report's author in the company's internal system was changed from me to Su Wanqing. The modification was made by Deputy Legal Director Zhang Ming. Approved by Lu Chengyuan. The original system log backup is here. Su Zhenhai's teacup froze midair. I took out the third document. Third, and most importantly, I placed the document on the table and pushed it to the center. 3 months ago, Ruihang Technology paid an 8 million technology licensing fee to a wholly owned subsidiary of Huaxing Group through the Cayman Islands offshore company Kairos Holdings. The licensed subject matter was 3 of the 12 patents under my name. The signatory on the licensing agreement was Zhang Ming, approved by Lu Chengyuan. I'm the rights holder of these 3 patents. Without my written authorization, no one has the right to conduct technology licensing in my name. This transaction constitutes. I looked at Meng Dun. Attorney Meng. You are a partner at Xingda. Please tell everyone present what does this constitute. For the first time, a crack appeared on Meng Dun's face. He glanced at Lu Chengyuan. Lu Chengyuan's fingers remained motionless on the table. Forging the authorization of the rights holder and disposing of others' intellectual property without permission. I finished the sentence for him. This is not a civil dispute. This is a criminal offense. The conference room fell silent for a full 5 seconds. Lu Yuanbai opened the documents in front of him and read them page by page. Su Zhenhai set down his teacup. He looked at Lu Chengyuan. But Lu Chengyuan was not looking at anyone. There's one more thing. I stood up. My graduate advisor, Professor Qian Weiyuan, is currently a specially appointed consultant to the Securities Regulatory Advisory Committee of the State Council. I have already submitted copies of all the above materials to the International Cooperation Department of the China Securities Regulatory Commission and the Cross-Border Regulatory Cooperation Division of the SEC's New York office. My voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the conference room heard it clearly. Lu Chengyuan abruptly lifted his head. On that face I had watched for 6 years. All the composure, dignity, and carefully maintained steadiness shattered completely. You're insane. Su Zhenhai slammed the table. You're trying to destroy Ruihang. I'm not trying to destroy Ruihang. I looked at him. The one destroying Ruihang isn't me. It's someone here who stole my patent without my knowledge, forged my authorization, put someone else's name on my work, then had me humiliated in front of 300 people at the company, and kicked me out with a board resolution. Director Su, do you think I should just swallow all that? Su Zhenhai's face turned pale. Lu Yuanbai put down the documents in his hand. I now announce the voting agenda for this special shareholders meeting is suspended. Director Lu Qian Liming grew anxious. Suspended, Lu Yuanbai repeated, until the facts regarding the alleged false disclosures and illegal authorizations are clarified. No resolutions concerning personnel changes should proceed. As an independent director, this is my duty. He turned to Lu Chengyuan. President Lu, you need to formally respond to the contents of these 3 documents. Until then, I suggest the suspension of Director Shen's position be revoked simultaneously. Lu Chengyuan sat in the main seat, his lips pressed into a thin line. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. Agreed. The meeting adjourned. Su Zhenhai glanced at me as he left. I had seen that look on many NTS faces, not anger, but reassessment. He was starting to take me seriously. Meng Dun paused at the door. Director Shen, I underestimated you. You didn't underestimate me. Your client never truly understood me. Gu Heng walked out of the building with me. At the parking lot, he leaned against my car door. What will they do next? The Su family will cut ties immediately. Su Zhenhai has lived over 60 years. His specialty is jumping before the ship sinks. He'll reassess whether his relationship with Lu Chengyuan is worth continuing. As for Lu Chengyuan, he'll come to you. Yes. And soon. That night at 9. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. Lu Chengyuan stood at the entrance of my all apartment. A place he never knew existed. He found his way here. How did you find it? There's a GPS on your car. You put a tracker on my car. Zhou Minting did. I leaned against the doorframe. What else did you have Zhou Minting do behind my back? He didn't answer. Jiwan. I came to talk. What's there to talk about? 20%. Restore the authorship. I'll cooperate with the divorce. Zhou Minting is out. You withdraw the materials submitted to the SEC. I can't withdraw them. What? Once the process starts, it's irreversible. You should know that. His hands clenched, knuckles turning white. Jiwan, what exactly do you want? I already told you. 25%. Not a cent more. Not a cent less. I can't agree to that. The Su family handled the Su family yourself. You married. You fathered. You deceived, it's all yours. You gave the materials to the CSRC. Ruihang's IPO has nothing to do with me anymore. He froze. What do you mean? I received an offer this afternoon. Chief Compliance Officer at Tianqi Capital. I've accepted it. Lu Chengyuan stepped back, leaning against the hallway wall. You're going to Tianqi, Ruihang's biggest competitor. I'm going somewhere worth going. Jiwan. This is revenge. No. This is damage control. I took a step back, ready to close the door. One more thing. He looked at me. I've already removed the GPS from your car. Pull all your people out of my life by tomorrow. The next time you track my whereabouts by any means, I'll call the police. The door closed. 3 days later, a piece of news exploded in the financial circle. Prism exclusively reported. On the eve of Ruihang Technologies' IPO, a core patent ownership dispute surfaced, and the prospectus was suspected of false disclosure. The bylined reporter was Lin Kuei. My name wasn't mentioned in the report, but anyone in the industry knew exactly what was going on. That afternoon, Morgan Stanley, Ruihang Technologies U.S. underwriter, sent an internal email. Given the recent intellectual property ownership dispute, it was recommended to postpone the IPO roadshow arrangements until the relevant matters were clarified before proceeding. Lu Chengyuan's calls came one after another. I didn't answer a single one. Zhou Minting sent a WeChat message. Director Shen. Mr. Lu wants to meet you. I blocked her. On the fourth day, the Su family made a move. Su Zhenhai issued an official statement through Huaxing Group. The strategic investment partnership between Huaxing Group and Ruihang Technology would be reassessed according to the terms of the agreement. During the assessment period, Huaxing Group would suspend the disbursement of subsequent investment funds. Suspended disbursement. The Su family was cutting off support. That evening, Su Wanqing called me. I hesitated for a second, then answered. Director Shen. Miss Su, you orchestrated the report. It wasn't a question. Think whatever you want. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end. I underestimated you. You're the second person today to say that to me. Director Shen. There's no personal grudge between you and me. As for Chengyuan's matter, it was his choice. You're right. It was his choice. And you made yours. You chose a married man and felt perfectly at ease letting him put your work under your name. Miss Su. Between you and Mite's no longer just a personal grudge. Then what do you want? I've already got it. Lu Chengyuan has already signed the divorce agreement. Today at 3 in the afternoon. The 25% equity transfer has also been registered. I haven't missed a single thing I wanted. There was a long silence on the other end. You win. I don't call this winning. I'm just no longer losing. After hanging up, I stood on the balcony for a while. On my phone screen was the scanned confirmation letter from Guheng. Divorce agreement signed by both parties. Equity transfer business registration completed. Project Polaris byliner stirred. 6 years. It took 6 years to see someone clearly, and less than a month to uproot myself from that relationship entirely. The day after the divorce was finalized, Lu Chengyuan came to find me. Not at the company. Not at my apartment. It was in the lobby of the office building where I was going through the onboarding process at Tianqi Capital. He was wearing a black coat, with obvious fatigue on his face. Jiwan. I stopped. Is there something else? I'm here to return your things. He took something out of his coat pocket and handed it to me. It was the dark red marriage certificate. There are still a few personal items of yours in the safe. I've had them packed up. Come pick them up when it's convenient. Just have them sent to my new address. Okay. He stood there. I knew he had more to say. You'll do well at Tianqi. I don't need your blessings. Jiwan, what's between us is over. Go deal with your own mess. The Su family cut off your funds. The IPO has been halted. You should be busy now. The corner of his mouth twitched. Whether it was a bitter smile or something else, I couldn't tell. Don't come looking for me again, I said. I turned and walked into the elevator. In the last second before the elevator doors closed, I saw him still standing in the lobby, motionless. Tianqi Capital's office was in the core area of the CBD, occupying 3 full floors. Co-founder Han Zheng personally greeted me at the elevator. 39 years old, short buzz cut, a sports watch, wearing a hoodie. He didn't look like someone in capital, more like a tech guy. Shen Zhuan. He shook my hand. Professor Qian told me a lot about you. Good things or bad things. He said you're the best student he's ever taught. His exact words were, in this lifetime, she's the only one I truly admire. Professor Qian flatters me. This way. Your office is on the 27th floor. It's all set up. He led me through the open workspace. Dozens of young faces looked up at me, then lowered their heads again. Your first task. Han Zheng pushed open the door to a glass-partitioned room, where a laptop and 2 monitors were already set up. Tianqi plans to launch a share IPO in Q2 next year. I need a chief compliance officer to clean up all legal risks before the prospectus. Timeline: 14 months. It's doable. Good. He turned to leave, then looked back at me. One more thing, I've seen the recent news about your former employer. Someone asked if I specifically poached you to take down the competition. What did you say? I said he hired her because she's worth the price. It has nothing to do with who her former employer is. He walked away. I sat in my new office, looking out at the city skyline. A different height, a different view. Tianqi Capital moved at a much faster pace than Ruihang. In my first week, I took on 3 pending investment project legal due diligence cases, each with stacks of documents piled half a person's height. In the second week, I conducted a comprehensive review of the internal compliance system. At 11 p.m., on the day I submitted the 30,000 word report, I was still in the office double-checking the last set of data. Han Zheng pushed the door open, saw the empty coffee cups piled on my desk, and frowned. Shen Zhuan, you need to change the work habits you brought over from Ruihang, no matter how well written the report is. If you burn yourself out, I'll have to hire someone new. Just 3 more pages. Do it tomorrow. Come on. The cafeteria downstairs isn't closed yet. I'll treat you to a bowl of noodles. I didn't move. He directly closed my laptop. Let's go. Only one auntie was left in the cafeteria making noodles. 2 bowls of plain noodles were served, steaming hot. Han Zheng took a couple of bites and suddenly said, do you know what the biggest difference is between you and those people at Ruihang? What? They work to get things done. You work because you can't stand to deliver something flawed. People like you are the most formidable, but also the most likely to burn yourselves out. I held my chopsticks over the noodles and said nothing. So my advice is, you don't need to kill yourself to prove you deserve this position, whether you're worthy or not. Your first report already made that clear. This was the first time since I arrived at Tianqi that someone told me, you don't need to prove yourself anymore. In my 6 years at Ruihang, no one had ever said that. Not even Lu Chengyuan. In my 3rd week on the job, I got a call from old Fang. Shen Zong. It's me, old Fang. Fang Zong. What's up, Shen Zong? He lowered his voice. I want to leave Ruihang. What happened? After you left, the company changed. Lu Chengyuan is meeting with the Su family every day now. The tech team's budget was cut by 40, and Phase 4 of the Polaris project was halted. He's pouring all his money and energy into plugging holes after the IPO was delayed. Investors are pressuring for an exit, and he's borrowing everywhere, draining the company's liquidity. Fang Zong, you've been at Ruihang for 5 years, I know. That's why I'm not saying this lightly. Shen Zong, I'm asking you, does Tianqi need people? I thought for 3 seconds. Send me your resume. I'll pass it to Han Zheng. But I have one condition. Name it. You can come to Tianqi, but if anyone from your tech team wants to come along, tell them one rule: don't bring any of Ruihang's trade secrets. Not a single line of code. Come out clean. Of course. Good. I'll wait for your resume. 2 days later, Fang Daming passed the interview. He brought 3 key tech members with him when he left Ruihang. The day the news spread, a screenshot of an anonymous industry group chat circulated on social media. Ruihang is finished. The chief legal officer left. The patents are gone. And the tech VP is gone too. What does Lu Chengyuan have left? He still has the Su family's money. Oh wait. The Su family cut him off too. I didn't participate in spreading any of this, but I saw it. Fang Daming had been at Tianqi for a week when Lu Chengyuan showed up. He wasn't here to see me. He was here to see Han Zheng. They talked for 2 hours in the conference room on the 28th floor. From my office on the 27th floor, I watched his back as he walked past the glass wall. The suit was still the same cut, but his shoulders weren't as straight as before. After the meeting, Han Zheng came to find me. What did Lu Chengyuan come to talk about? A partnership. Han Zheng leaned against the doorframe. After Ruihang's IPO was postponed, he's in urgent need of new funding. He wants Tianqi to lead his pre-IPO round. What did you say? I said I'd think about it. What are you thinking about? Han Zheng looked at me and asked bluntly, if Tianqi invests in Ruihang, would you have a problem with it? This is a business decision. It shouldn't be swayed by my personal stance. I'm not asking whether it should be. I'm asking if you have a problem. I thought for a moment. Han Zheng, you brought me to Tianqi not because of my history with Lu Chengyuan, but because of my professional expertise. If Rui Hang's project is worth investing in from a business perspective, then go ahead. But there's one condition. What condition? You let me handle the legal due diligence on this project. Han Zheng crossed his arms and stared at me for 5 seconds. Then he smiled. You're the most ruthless person I've ever met. It's not ruthlessness. It's professionalism. The due diligence began. I led a team of 3 from Tianqi's legal department into Rui Hang, spending 2 full weeks turning over every stone of the company whose legal framework I had once built with my own hands. It was a strange experience, like being the architect who designed a house, now inspecting its foundation as a building inspector. The conclusion was what I expected. There was more than one crack. Qian Liming's financial management system had developed numerous issues after I left. Several related party transactions were incompletely disclosed. Internal controls had become mere formalities. And the $8 million technology licensing deal the Su family had done through an offshore company still hadn't been properly cleaned up. I handed the due diligence report to Han Zheng. Conclusion. Rui Hang Technology currently has 17 legal and compliance risks across 3 major categories. 4 of them are significant risks that directly affect their listing eligibility. My recommendation: hold off on the investment until they clean things up before we talk further. Han Zheng ped through 2 pages of the report. You didn't go easy on him. Going easy isn't my job. Risk assessment is. Alright, we'll do it your way. Tianqi rejected Rui Hang's funding request. The night the news reached Lu Chengyuan, he sent me a message. Just 4 words. You're very heartless. I replied with 6. You were heartless first. Deleted the conversation. The news that Tianqi had rejected an investment in Rui Hang set off a chain reaction across the industry. First, 2 previously hesitant investors pulled out of Rui Hang's pre-IPO round. Then, 2 of Rui Hang's key clients separately announced they were re-evaluating their technical cooperation agreements. Within a month, the industry landscape shifted subtly. Tianqi was on the rise, while Rui Hang was in decline. In my 6th week at Tianqi, I received an unexpected package. The sender was Zhou Minting. Inside the package was only a USB drive, accompanied by a handwritten note. Director Shen, this is what I owe you. Inside are all the emails and meeting minutes between Lu Chengyuan and the Su family over the past 2 years, including when he started seeing Su Wanqing, the betting conditions proposed by the Su family, and the full account of how I was arranged to say those words at the annual meeting. The last line of the note was written smaller than the rest. He didn't keep his promise to me either. I'm not a good person, but I don't want to be the only fool anymore. He hadn't kept his promise to her either. So Zhou Minting was also someone bound by a promise. The difference was that she woke up later than I did. I didn't open the USB drive immediately. Instead, I first made a call to Guhang. Zhou Minting sent me a USB drive, claiming it contains all the communications between Lu Chengyuan and the Su family. Verify its authenticity first. Could be a trap. I was thinking the same. 2 days later, Guhang's team completed the verification. Conclusion. The files on the USB drive were genuine. The original email headers were intact. Timestamps were traceable, and the content cross-referenced consistently. I spent the entire night going through all the files. Then I knew everything. Lu Chengyuan's relationship with Su Wanqing didn't start 10 months ago, it started 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Rui Hang's Series B funding hit a bottleneck. All investors had significant disagreements over Rui Hang's valuation. Su Zhenhai reached out to Lu Chengyuan through an intermediary and proposed a condition. Huaxing Group could lead the Series B round at a high premium, but Lu Chengyuan needed to establish a stable personal relationship with Su Wanqing. Su Zhenhai's exact words were in black and white in the email. I only have one daughter. The man she marries will be the future successor of Huaxing. If President Lu is sincere, start as friends first, and we'll take it from there. Lu Chengyuan agreed. 2 years ago. At that time, I was in Tokyo handling a cross-border patent infringement lawsuit. I was out of the country for 3 months. And during those 3 months, he began his relationship with Su Wanqing. What made me even more nauseated was that Su Zhenhai explicitly mentioned in the email, I heard President Lu is married. This needs to be handled properly. It can't affect Wanqing's reputation. Lu Chengyuan's reply was just one sentence. It's being handled. Rest assured. Director Sue. Being handled. 2 years ago. He was already handling me. I was the obstacle that needed to be properly handled. And during those days, when he called me, he would still say, "Juan, when you come back, let's go try that new Japanese restaurant." I locked the USB drive in a safe, placing it alongside those patent certificates. Su Wanqing contacted me on the third day after Rui Hang's IPO was officially postponed. "Director Shen, do you have time? I'd like to speak with you in person." "Where?" "You decide." I chose a quiet cafe in the CBD. Su Wanqing looked much thinner than the last time I saw her. Her makeup was still impeccable, but it couldn't hide the sharper outline of her chin. She sat down and spoke directly. "I came to apologize." "For what?" "The authorship of the Polaris project, I tacitly approved it. When Lu Chengyuan brought it over, I read 2 pages and knew it wasn't something I could have written. But I didn't refuse. Because my father told me, if you want to establish a presence at Rui Hang, you need results you can show off. So you chose to use my results to build your presence." "Yes. I was wrong. Do you think an apology is enough?" "It's not. That's why I came." She pulled a document from her bag. "This is the complete material on the $8 million technology licensing deal between Huaxing Group and Rui Hang Technology. It includes internal approval records, fund flows, and a list of related parties." I took it and flipped through a couple of pages. It matched the data on Zhou Minting's USB drive. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because the $8 million technology licensing deal went through a shadow account under Huaxing. The funds ultimately ended up in an offshore trust controlled by my father personally." She looked straight at me. "Last month, my father took a call at home. He thought I was upstairs putting the child to sleep. He said to the person on the other end, 'Don't worry about Wanqing. Now that she's split with Lu Chengyuan, she's a spent card. Nothing to worry about. I'll cover the child support. But she's not touching any of Huaxing's shares.'" Her voice was flat, but her fingertips were turning white. "A spent card." He said it himself. From childhood to now, he arranged my school, my job, my marriage. I thought he at least loved me. When I heard that call, I realized the same kind of person as Lu Chengyuan. The only difference is, one deceives his wife, the other deceives his daughter. I looked at her for a long time. "I'll take this material, but I won't make you any promises. How and when it's used is up to me. You decide." She stood up. At the door, she turned back and said, "Director Shen, you're stronger than all of us." The door closed. The materials Su Wanqing gave me, I forwarded to Guheng that same day. 3 days later, Guheng submitted 2 reports, one to the China Securities Regulatory Commission, a whistleblowing dossier on Huaxing Group's suspected illegal asset transfers through related party transactions, one to the Economic Crime Investigation Department of the Public Security Authorities, a referral letter regarding Su Zhenhai's suspected money laundering through offshore trusts. The CSRC's response was faster than I expected. Within a week, Huaxing Group received an official inquiry letter from the regulatory body. Su Zhenhai was ordered to cooperate with the investigation. Huaxing Group's stock price fell 12 on the first trading day after the news leaked. Rui Hang Technology, as a related party of Huaxing, was also affected. Investors demanded that Rui Hang issue a statement of disassociation, clarifying that there was no benefit transfer relationship with Huaxing Group, but they couldn't disassociate, because that $8 million transaction was there in black and white, approved by Lu Chengyuan, although Zhang Ming signed it. Lu Chengyuan's name was clearly visible in the approval chain. Rui Hang Technology's IPO was officially announced as indefinitely postponed. The reason given was the company needs time to adjust its internal governance structure. Everyone in the industry knew this was a polite way of putting it. The core patent was not under the company's name. The chief legal officer had jumped ship to a competitor, taking the intellectual property with them. The VP of technology had left with the core team. The cornerstone investor, Huaxing Group, had suspended its capital injection. 2 major clients had cancelled their partnerships. On the 3rd day after the news spread, Lu Chengyuan posted a status update on his social media feed. Just 6 words. "A clear conscience is enough." There wasn't a single comment below it. Once, any post he made would get dozens of likes in a queue. Now empty and silent. I didn't like it. And I didn't comment. I turned off the entry point to his feed. The day after the IPO postponement announcement, Su Wanqing broke up with Lu Chengyuan. Huaxing Group's PR team released a soft article through industry self-media, stating that Su Zhenhai's daughter and the Ruihang CEO have parted ways amicably. No mention of the child. No mention of marriage. The Su family was cutting ties. Su Zhenhai was formally placed under investigation by the Economic Crime Investigation Department for suspected illegal asset transfers. Huaxing Group's stock price fell another 15%, and Su Zhenhai was restricted from leaving the country. Su Wanqing moved out of the Su family villa with her daughter, going to a place no one knew. Before she left, she sent me a message. "Thank you. And I'm sorry." I replied with one word. Meanwhile, my work at Tianqi was getting busier. Han Zheng expanded my responsibilities from legal compliance to post-investment management, having me participate in risk assessments for all invested projects. In my third month on the job, I led a major acquisition for Tianqi, acquiring a startup developing autonomous driving chips. I independently designed the legal structure, from due diligence to closing. It took 52 days. This was the first project fully stamped with Shen Zhuan's name. Not done for someone else. Not signed off by someone else. It was my own work. Ruihang Technology, after Lu Chengyuan hesitated for 3 months, was ultimately acquired by a Shenzhen-based technology group for 180 million renminbi. 5 years ago, during its final round of financing, Ruihang was valued at 5 billion renminbi, from 5 billion to 180 million. My 25% stake had already been transferred during the divorce. But with Ruihang's actual value plummeting to this level, those shares were no longer worth much. I never expected to get rich off that 25%. What I wanted was principal. On the day the acquisition was completed, Lu Chengyuan posted the final notice in the management group chat. The company's equity change has been completed. I will no longer hold any position at Ruihang Technology effective immediately. Thank you all for your efforts over the years. Only a few people replied with thanks for your hard work. Most said nothing at all. In the same month Ruihang was acquired. Tianqi Capital officially submitted its A-share IPO application materials. Compliance report authored by Shen Zhuan. Legal opinion reviewed by Shen Zhuan. Intellectual property ownership confirmation cross-verified item by Shen Zhuan. No loopholes. No gray areas. This was earned through 6 years of lessons at Ruihang. I knew how many pitfalls lay on a company's path to listing because I had once filled those pits for others and watched the bury people. On the 45th day after submission, the CSRC issued the first round of inquiry letters. 37 questions. My team and I took 10 days to respond one by one. Second round of inquiry. 15 questions. Done in 8 days. On the day of the listing committee review, I didn't go to the exchange. I was in my office on the 27th floor of Tianqi, watching the live broadcast on my computer screen. At 3:11 p.m., the review result came out. Approved. Tianqi Capital's A-share listing was greenlit. The entire office erupted in cheers. Han Zheng called from the venue. Applause ringing in the background. Shen Zhuan, did you hear that? I heard. Your compliance report was singled out for praise by the listing committee reviewer. They said it was the most complete and professional compliance disclosure document they've seen this year. I held the phone. My fingers didn't tremble, but my eyes felt a little warm. Not because Tianqi went public, but because this time, the name on the compliance report was Shen Zhuan, and no one would secretly change it to someone else's. Han Zheng. Thank you for giving me the opportunity back then. It wasn't me giving you the opportunity. You earned it yourself. After Tianqi went public, the company's market value surged to 12 billion yuan. My stock options began to vest according to the terms agreed upon when I joined. The first batch of vested shares, calculated at the closing price on the listing day, was worth 42 million yuan. That figure was 1.2 times the 35 million yuan the Su family had once tried to buy me out with. I didn't share this number with anyone. I transferred the first sum of money into a newly established company account. The company was named Wani Legal Consulting Co. Ltd. I didn't plan to work for others for the rest of my life. Tianqi was a springboard, not a destination. At Tianqi's first annual general meeting after going public, Han Zheng mentioned me in front of all the employees. I want to give a special shout out to one person, our Chief Compliance Officer, Shen Zhuan. The listing committee's reviewers said our compliance documents were textbook level. The author of that textbook is standing right among you. The whole room applauded. I stood in the crowd. No need to hide behind anyone's shadow. No need to conceal my name. That night, Lao Fong messaged me on WeChat. Shen. A few of us former Rui Hang colleagues started a small group called Shen's Fan Club. Want to come in and take a look? I didn't join the group, but I smiled. There was also a message from a number I hadn't contacted in a long time. Lu Chengyuan. Congratulations. You deserve it. I stared at it for 2 seconds. I didn't reply. I didn't delete it either. I just let it sit there. A year later. Wah. Nai Legal Consulting Company Ltd. Officially opened for business. The first batch of clients were all post-investment companies from Tianqi Capital. Han Zheng had made recommendations for me. In the first month of operation, we signed 7 contracts. 6 months later, the team expanded from just me to 22 people. People started discussing me at industry forums, and the most upvoted comment read, Lu Chengyuan's greatest skill isn't running a company, it's pushing away the most valuable people. I didn't join any of those discussions. I was too busy working. One night, after working late, my phone rang. Han Zheng, Shen Zhuan. Congratulations on 6 months of operation. Thank you. Want to grab a meal sometime? No work talk. Just dinner. I thought about it. Sure. 2 more years passed. The Wani legal consulting team had expanded to over 100 people, with offices in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. Their clientele included 17 of the top 50 tech companies in China. Caixin ran a feature article on her. The headline read, Shen Zhuan, a name that needs no prefix. One passage in the article said, in the legal compliance sector of China's capital markets, Shen Zhuan's name no longer requires any prefix. Not former chief legal officer of Ruihang, not head of compliance at Tianqi Capital, and not someone's ex-wife. She is simply Shen Zhuan. It was written by Lin Kuei. She sent me that passage and asked, what do you think? Not bad. One spring weekend afternoon, I was tidying up my office in Shanghai. On the desk sat an old photo, a selfie taken years ago in front of the bathroom mirror of that small apartment. In the picture, my face was pale, dark circles under my eyes, and my right hand was still wrapped in bandages. I tucked the old photo into the deepest drawer, didn't throw it away. That evening, I had dinner with Han Zheng. We'd been together for nearly a year. It wasn't the whirlwind kind of romance. It was natural, a choice made by 2 adults after mutual understanding and confirmation. He never made me hide our relationship. Our first photo together was posted on his Moments. The caption read, Shen Zhuan, my girlfriend. Simple, direct, open and aboveboard. During dinner, he suddenly said, I heard some news today. What news? Lu Chengyuan seems to be starting a new entrepreneurial project. Small scale, related to AI legal services. My hand paused mid-reach for the food. Oh, really? Does it bother you? No. He does his thing. It has nothing to do with me. He took my hand, said nothing. On my 35th birthday, the team threw a small party for me in the office. The candles on the cake were shaped like 35. Old Fong raised his champagne and said, Boss Shen, 5 years ago when you walked out of Ruihang, I told a few of the guys this woman will definitely make everyone eat their words one day. Today, I can say I bet right. Everyone laughed. I didn't make a wish when I blew out the candles. After the party, I sat alone in the office for a while, scrolling through my phone. I found an old message thread. It was Lu Chengyuan's. Congratulations. You deserve it. I stared at those words, typed 3 characters, then deleted them, typed 2 more, then deleted them again. In the end, I typed nothing, exited the chat. A message from Han Zheng came in. Off work yet? I'm waiting for you downstairs. It's your birthday today, no overtime allowed. I shut down my computer and grabbed my coat. As I reached the door, I glanced back at my office. On the wall hung the company logo, the 2 characters Wani. The bookshelves were filled with industry reports and legal literature. Everything I had, I earned myself. Every inch of it. I turned off the light. The elevator arrived. The doors opened. Han Zheng stood in the lobby on the first floor, holding a bouquet, not a big one, just a small bunch of daisies casually wrapped from a roadside flower shop. When he saw me come out, he raised the flowers. Shen Zhuan, happy 35th birthday. I took the bouquet. We walked out of the building side by side. Outside was an ordinary night, an ordinary street, 2 ordinary people, no spotlights, no crowds watching, no secrets to hide. I walked beside him, My steps were light. The breeze was just right,